Guys, welcome back. Welcome to our second interview, and we have Bonnie Carter from Staged Results. Welcome, Bonnie.
Thanks, Mike. This is a pleasure being here.
Cool.
It really is.
We're super excited because staging has been something that is relatively new, I guess, with respect to real estate and people using stagers. We've got a couple questions, if that's okay, and we'll go over some things. We've been working together now, goodness, I can't remember how many years. We were having that discussion earlier. So why should people hire a stager, Bonnie?
Well, the party line is to secure the equity in your home. Now, basically what that means is, since your home is your largest investment, we want to make sure that if you're selling it, you're going to get the highest price. That's really the bottom line. The other thing is usually staging will reduce time on the market.
Oh, interesting.
So not only is that an advantage for home sellers, because it reduces their stress and they don't have to keep their place perfect for too long.
Especially if they have some kids and pets and that sort of thing. Exactly,
yeah.
Yes.
And it's an advantage for the realtor too, because I mean, you're paying for advertising, you're spending your time showing, you're doing open houses, and so all around, if you can get the highest price for the least time on the market, that's a really good reason.
Well, we have one that's vacant right now, kind of vacant. They've got a little bit of furniture, and where I can see exactly where you're coming from. We're struggling with that. So, what is the most common feature actually that you see, or that you draw people's attention to help really increase the value? Is there one thing in particular that kind of stands out with all the properties that you've done?
There's not really one thing.
Okay.
There are several.
Okay.
And when we go in, what we try to focus on is giving each room a function.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So if a buyer walks into a space and they're not sure about what happens in that space, they kind of use it as a throwaway, well, I don't know what I would do with this. Or they say, oh, what a waste of space.
I've never heard it referred to that way. That's actually very, very interesting.
Well, I just did a place last week, and it was the perfect example of that. We walked down the stairs, and there was this little fireplace there, and a chair, and a great big antique buffet,
Okay.
and toys.
Yes.
And I thought, okay, so what are we supposed to do in this room? So we really had to decide. I chatted with the homeowner about it, and we had to decide, okay, what are we going to focus on in this room? What's the function?
Wow.
So people need to know a function for each room. So that's one thing. The other thing is there needs to be a focal point.
Okay.
So a focal point could be a fireplace. It could be a big window that overlooks the backyard.
Okay.
It could be an interesting architectural feature.
Okay.
So if there's a natural focus, then it's easy.
Yes.
You need to place your furniture so that people focus on it.
Okay.
Now, if there is no focal point, because some houses really don't
Yes.
have one,
Yes.
you have to create one.
Okay.
So that's what stagers can do. We can decide, okay, we need to create a focal point. So it could be a conversation area. It could be an artwork section or something.
Okay.
So when people walk into a room, most of people can't visualize. They think
for sure. They have no vision at all. Absolutely.
They can't.
Yes.
So you have to take them by the hand,
Yes.
lead them in and say, look at this. See how this would be to live
Yes.
here. So it's very, very psychological.
Yes.
Very emotional. And that's some of the things that we learn about in our courses that we take. How do we make people feel the way it would feel if they lived in this house?
Wow.
So it's a little more than just hanging up some pictures and putting a few plants around and towels in the bathroom. There's much more to it than that.
Well, it's interesting because when you live in the house every day, it has a different purpose or different use, and you don't necessarily care. But you go back to that about focal point and that. There one house that you did for us out in Grenfell, they had this beautiful view over the pasture, and they had those heavy, heavy curtains.
Oh,
and
I know.
It was like, and once you take those down, you go, look at the beautiful pasture. So you're talking exactly that, a natural focal point in the room, and it just, they took the curtains down, and unbelievable the difference. It was pretty crazy. So
well, and you see, that's another thing about curtains. When you're a decorator, you want to hang drapes.
Yes.
And you want to do fluffy stuff like that.
Yes.
When you're a stager, it's just the opposite.
So is it like less is more in a lot of cases?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We find that too, because it just, people, if they walk into a room and the door doesn't open all the way, they won't go in and look at it, and it's really interesting.
Well, one of the other things that I wanted to mention too is the focal point and the function. Those are two important things.
Okay.
But the whole way people want to look at houses these days is it up to date?
Okay.
Is it modern? So we focus on that. And
Okay.
sometimes it's just a matter of drapes.
Yes.
Or wallpaper border,
Yes.
or color. Some of the colors are very dated.
Yes.
Doilies on the table. So all those little things
Grandma's
are
house.
relatively easy to fix.
Yes.
So they want up to date.
Yes.
They want open. They want uncluttered. They want to have a traffic pattern where 3 or more people can go through
Oh, wow.
and not bump into things.
Okay.
Because psychologically, again,
Yes.
as soon as you bump into something, it's like, oh, this house isn't big enough for
Too
us.
small. Wow.
So
That's a great perspective.
Well, we
Yeah.
really do focus on the psychological,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you do too.
Yes. Yes.
So, as a team, a
Yeah.
realtor and a stager work
Yes.
well together. For sure.
I've loved working with you. It's been a blast. So, what are some of the most common mistakes or problems that people have, or that they do when they try to either stage themselves or when they bring their house on the market?
Well, one of the most common is family pictures all over the place.
Yes.
And it's funny because I hear people say, oh, but people tell me that it makes it feel homey to have family pictures.
Like the fridge cluttered with all the report cards and.
Well, that is certainly an issue. But I mean, even family photos on the wall.
Yes.
There are a couple of things about that. One is people are very nosy,
Yes.
very curious. And so if you've got family photos on the wall, they spend a huge amount of time
Nose.
looking at them.
Never thought of it that way. Actually.
Spending a lot of time, oh, look at that family, isn't that nice? I wonder where that setting is. I think I remember being on that island, and on they go. And their focus and their attention is in the wrong area, totally. Wow. So that's one thing. The other thing I always tell homeowners about is that when people come in, they want to imagine themselves living in that
Yes.
home. And so as they go from room to room, we want to reinforce that. This could be yours. This is how you would be here. And every time there's a family photo, it's like saying to that buyer, oh, this isn't yours. This is someone else's.
See, I had a different perspective until you said that. Like, I always thought, you wanted to have some pictures and that so people could see that a family lived there. But I've never thought of it from the perspective that, they think, okay, well, I've been to this location, or they're nosy, who is this family? And they don't get that possession feel, right? That it's still somebody else's
And that's
house.
a really good term. I've not used that, but possession feel is when the offer comes in,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, you've changed my perspective on
good.
that. You've changed my perspective.
Well, and it's not only the photos, it's collections of things.
Yes.
You know how people have these wonderful collections and expensive and all of that. Again, that's a really personal touch. So people spend way too much time looking at them,
Okay.
trying to figure out how much they're worth. All of those things that human nature kind of instills in us.
Yeah.
And it just reminds them that it's not their place.
Wow.
I did a house last week, and it was kind of an interesting one. The collection they had was gnomes.
Oh, yeah.
No gnomes. Yeah, it reminds
Oh,
me
my
of
goodness.
that old English picture. I think it might have been the Full Monty when there were
Oh,
gnomes
yeah.
in the
Yeah.
garden. Well, she had a buffet full of gnomes, and they were absolutely exquisite.
Yeah.
I could hardly take my eyes off them. But I said to her, people are going to leave this house thinking, oh, that's the house with the gnomes.
Wow.
Not, that's the house with the beautiful hardwood floor and the great view out the back. So it's like, you've got to pack them up. And furthermore, they're beautiful, so you want to pack them carefully and take your time and do it now.
Yeah.
So there are ways
Yes.
of convincing them. So personal photos, personal collections, we call it neutralizing and depersonalizing.
Okay.
So, because it's all about the people walking through the door.
Yeah.
It's not about the people who live there anymore.
And that's a great perspective. And, we sell houses, we've been doing it forever. And we don't get to see or understand or even look a little deeper on what you're talking about, about neutralizing the house and making it about the house as opposed to the people that are in it. So It's interesting.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool. Average cost of a stager to come in?
Well, each stager is a little bit different, although in this area we tend to be in the 200 to 250 range for a 2-hour consult.
Okay,
I charge 200
okay,
for the Barrie area, and then if it's 25 kilometers outside Barrie, I add 25
Okay.
for the cost of the travel.
Yep.
No big deal.
makes sense.
If it's a vacant property, depending on how big it is and how many rooms we want to do, it can range 900 to 2,000, maybe even more, depending if we want to do all the bedrooms.
So that's renting furniture and that sort of thing?
Furniture. So we charge $100 an hour for services. I have 3 women,
Okay.
myself and 2 others. We work together to load the stuff, deliver it, install it,
Yes.
make it all beautiful. So they pay that as a one-time fee, and then the rental per
Yeah.
month is whatever.
Dependent upon whatever the furniture. We
Yeah.
did one on Steel Street like that, and we brought in the dining room table with you and some chairs and
Yeah.
things. It made a big difference on the house.
Yeah.
So well worth it when there's not enough furniture or not set up
Right.
properly. That sort
Well,
of
and for vacants, you don't have to do every bedroom.
True.
You really don't.
Yeah.
Generally, it's master bedroom, dining room, living room, maybe family room too. But if you look into a bedroom and you can visualize where the bed's supposed to go and the nightstands and whatever, you don't really need to stage
Okay.
it. But some of them are odd shapes and people wouldn't be able to visualize it.
Well, that would go back to your
So-
function of a room that you had
Yeah.
talked about earlier. So
Yeah.
to set it up so that they can understand what the purpose of that
Exactly.
room is. Cool. Is there a sort of a weird thing? What's the funniest, or this is one here you weren't on your pre-questions. Is there some funny thing or weirdest thing that you've ever had to take out of a house that kind of stands out in your mind? You're
Yes.
giggling?
Yeah, I'm giggling because I can still see that
Oh my
house in my
goodness.
mind today. There was a lady who had a doll collection,
Okay.
and honestly, there must have been 200 or 300 of them.
Wow.
Dolls are a bit freaky.
Well, it's funny. My mom has a doll collection, and she had a doll that looked exactly like our daughter. And she gave it to her, and our daughter showed a picture of this doll in the back seat as she was driving. It was creepy.
Well, I think it's because of those horror movies.
Yeah,
they
oh,
make,
for
and they
sure,
put dolls
for
in.
sure.
Anyway, she had dolls in every room.
Oh my goodness.
And I thought, what am I going to do with this? So we went through the whole house, and I'm thinking, oh, sometimes if I'm not sure of a decision, I'll go through and let it kind of percolate in
Yes,
the back
yes.
burner. So what we decided was the doll collection was so valuable, and it was.
Yes.
And I didn't want to hurt her feelings. So I said, okay, here's what I think we should do. Let's set up a doll room.
Oh, perfect.
And we'll take all the dolls from all around the house and we'll put them all in one room. And then she got a little panicky and I said, and if you like, we can keep that door locked.
Wow.
So nobody can touch them because she valued them.
Yes,
And
for
I don't
sure.
blame her.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we put all the dolls in this bedroom. Now that was freaky.
Especially when there's no sign on the door and you open it up and oh my goodness.
It was like 300 dolls set up on the bed, which was weird, but hey, she wanted the door locked, and so we just told the realtors that they were not to do that room, it was just an ordinary bedroom.
Yeah, yeah.
So nobody saw them, nobody touched them, and nobody really had to contend with it when they came in. That
That's
was
funny.
the very challenging
Wow.
one I had.
And I can attest to that. Like some of the dolls that my mom had, you swear they follow you around the room. It's like it's like crazy.
I know.
So stats wise on that, they say that when you use a home stager, when a house is staged, it sells faster, sells for more money. Is there any truth to that?
Well, absolutely, there is a lot of truth to that. I just got the February 2019 stats.
Okay.
And let me tell you a few of them. They're kind of interesting. Over 77% of buyers find it easier to visualize a property as their own when it's staged properly.
Wonderful.
86% of buyers and sellers consider it important to have the living room staged. 84% of buyers consider it important to have the master bedroom staged.
Yeah, makes sense.
The top 3 rooms in order of importance for staging are living room, master bedroom, and dining room.
Wow.
That
Yeah, makes sense.
too,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah. That's those function rooms and that you're talking about.
And the National Association of Realtors believes that staging increases property value by 6 to 20%.
Wow.
You know, I've often done a staging, and sometimes I will ask the home seller, has your realtor given you a price range?
Yes.
And usually they have.
Yes.
So that tells me how fussy we have to be.
Yes.
Like if it's at the high end of the range, we want to make sure the house is perfect.
Okay.
If it's like, you know what, we're anxious to sell, we're pricing it low, well, you know, then it's maybe
Yeah.
not as
That's
fussy.
important. Yep.
But if the realtor has given them a range and we do a bang up job staging, more often than not, when they come back to list, they say, oh, I think we can get more.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool.
And we've had that as well. When you've come in and done your job, and the clients are over the moon with you. It's
that's so nice.
well, it is. It's working with like-minded people, and it's interesting because they talk about know, like, and trust. And when we can reach out to people that are like-minded to us and have the same values and that, it just makes everything so much easier. And you know, it's an absolute pleasure working with you. I'm glad you had. Do you have anything else you want to add, or any other tidbits or funny stories, or?
Well, I told you about the gnomes.
Yeah.
I looked at a place last week that I called the Victorian Masterpiece. Now that was a challenge. The lady had dressed her whole house up in Victorian style.
Wow.
Which meant very large pieces of fabric
Yeah,
over
heavy.
every window.
Yeah.
A very interesting paint job
Yeah.
on all the doors
Wow.
and all the walls. She had even put metal corners on the corners of everywhere,
Wow.
like fancy metal
Yeah,
corners.
yeah.
And I said to the lady actually had passed away who owned the house, and I said to the person looking after it, the best thing, I think, is to just remove all of the stuff here,
Yes.
repaint,
Yes.
and leave it. I've never ever suggested that because
Wow.
vacant houses have no
Yeah.
soul.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always suggest
Yeah.
staging something
Yeah.
in a vacant house. But this house was a little bit different.
Yeah.
It really needed a ton of work,
Yes.
and we needed to get rid of that Victorian feel.
Ah.
So you can laugh about it, but boy oh boy, somebody had to sell that house, which wasn't funny at all.
That's a nervous laugh.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Bonnie. It's
welcome.
been an absolute pleasure. Guys, if you're thinking about staging, well, if you're thinking about selling your house, whether you're starting out in a condo or it's your final house or your move down house, you have to reach out to Bonnie. She does an unbelievable job, and you can't go wrong. So Bonnie Carter, Staged Results. We will put all her contact information down below, and reach out to her. You certainly won't regret it. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thanks.
Pleasure.